Good morning. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of September, and it's leg 7 on our Island Way adventure. We're just leaving the lovely town of Cranagh and we're heading on to Gortin. The weather, as you can see, is dry for the most part. I think we might get a bit of rain at 2 p.m. and we've got an 8 mile walk to the town and then a 2 mile walk after that for where we're going to be spending the night. Tessa's had a lovely time here, as you can see. Very green. We're going to walk along mostly these kind of nice country lanes, and we're going to go past something called the Barnes Gap, which was famous for an old railway line. I don't think the railway line's still there anymore, but it's a big U-shaped valley, and it's a way over or through the mountains. We've only got to go to about 120 metres, whereas if you remember the pass that we went on just by Mount Saul, way up over there, that pass was 420 metres. So I was staying with Connor, who's a local lad here. He's married and got a little fellow as well, and he comes from, I guess, a farming community, and he was very entrepreneurial and decided to buy the cabin I was staying in and got it delivered about 2 years ago, and it came along this road here, and the cabin's about 8 feet wide, maybe, I don't know, 16 foot long, and it came on the back of a big HGV lorry. And he said he was standing on top of the lorry and having to chop down with his chainsaw any branches that were blocking his way as he came along this road. He also took me to the pub last night. There's a local pub in Cranagh, but it was not open on a Monday, so he drove me to Plum Bridge, which is maybe a 7 mile drive, and affectionately known by locals as Plum. It's the closest place with a shop and a Chinese takeaway, and apparently on the weekends there are 4 pubs all open in the little town square, but on a Monday night there's only one, called Glenelly's Pub, and they were very friendly and let me take Tess in, and had a couple of pints of Tennent's for I think £5.50 a pint, and they also phoned in a Chinese takeaway for me and let me eat it and provided me cutlery and a plate on which to eat it. So very hospitable people, lots of interesting conversations. I remember one of them, they were talking about the price of houses here, and they're like, £95,000 for that house. I wouldn't pay more than £40,000 for it. And they were talking about a 4-bedroom house here in the village. Apparently needed a lot of work done to it. They were also discussing the inventions such as dishwashers and dishwasher tablets, and all different escapades of what they've been up to during the week. A really quite fun, friendly chat. So there's no mobile phone signal in the village, and I'm probably not going to get any until I get basically all the way to Gortin. So when Connor dropped me off at the pub last night, he said, give me a call, I'll come and pick you up. But I couldn't actually make a call because there was no reception, so he came by about 9 p.m, brought his friend along with him, and we had a pint together. And somehow, I'm not quite sure how, he managed to start drinking my pint as well as his. He was very apologetic about it, but I think it's quite thankful really, because having 2 pints before a day of walking is not really what you want to be doing. I kind of have a 1 pint limit the night before a walk. Here it's really opened up, and you can see the Sperrins just behind us, that tall one, that is Mount Saul. Good clear view of it today. Yeah, so the conditions today are really quite different from when we arrived 2 days ago. We can see for miles and miles, and even a tinge of blue sky in the air, and not the foggiest chance of rain, hopefully. It really is quite pleasant and delightful when the conditions are like this. We've actually been along this stretch of road before, because I put the wrong pin in the map, and I was meant to be going to number 75 on this road. I accidentally got all the way to 87, which is about a half mile up the road, because the houses are so spaced apart, normally being 12 out or 6 out because it's only odd numbers, you'd only be 50 meters wrong, but here you can be, yeah, a good 10-minute walk the wrong side. So we're struggling a little bit on Sunday night trying to find the right place, but fortunately there's a friendly farmer out who pointed the way to the static caravan for us. So with the car ride home yesterday, Connor told me that this is actually the longest V-shaped valley in Europe, and it carries on with these steep sides. I think he said for 8 miles, but we'll double check that. But you can see it's really quite steep down to the bottom and then up again. And Cranagh is just behind us there, that little settlement over there. Yeah, we're on the road here. We get very little traffic. He said when he was installing the caravan 2 years ago, they actually blocked this road for 3.5 hours, but they only had to turn one car away because they got so few vehicles on this road on a given day. If you cast your eyes right down the valley, you can see Plumbridge right there behind where the tree is going to be now, and that is where we were in the pub last night. And then we're going to go through the Barnes Gap, which is coming up to our left, and it's going to be about the same distance away as Plumbridge is from us, but to our left it's going to be Gortin, which is a small village of 400 people or so. But this is the famous Barnes Gap, this little gap between the two hills, and it's the shortest way across the mountains in terms of, well, the lowest way is what I mean to say. So here we are standing on top of the Barnes Gap, and it's the highest point of the walk for today. If I just rotate the camera around, you can see this very narrow path below one. I've been walking the upper trail to get the better views, but yeah, this very narrow canyon. Anyway, I better stop now because I've got to put Tess in the lead before this. So we're firmly on the descent down into Gortin, and you can see that it's just beautiful views. We can see really quite far into the distance, and it's probably the best walking day I've had so far of the entire trip. It's such a quiet road that I've let Tess off the lead. We've met about 3 or 4 vehicles so far in an hour and a half, and so it's much better for her and for me. Gortin over there, we are on the wrong side of the river, so we're just having to walk about half a mile to cross the river and then walk half a mile back. Hopefully you can see that spire through the ferns. So now we're just about 5 minutes or so from this dog-friendly cafe, and we're crossing over the river of Gortin. It's the only bridge for quite a while, so it's quite busy. You can see a fairly turbulent river. Yep, so hopefully have a sandwich down us in about half an hour. Yep, so we stopped off in a very nice cafe called the Old Bar, which is superbly dog friendly, and now we're walking down the streets of Gortin to try and find the bar that is famously open from 11 AM every day, called Mozzie's Bar, and we can see it just across the street, that kind of pale yellow building. So let's check in there and see if we'll let a dog in. Oh, so we're still here, and I've just been in the pub for about 2 or 3 hours, and I've had some very friendly, generous people. Seamus, John, someone else who works for the Forestry Commission, and they've donated about £180 in cash to my cause, so thank you very much. Oh, so I'm walking towards Gortin, and I just got a phone call off a lady called Pauline, with whom I was supposed to be staying with tomorrow night. And she said, sorry, there's been a slight issue with your booking. We've got someone staying with us who's been with us for 3 weeks, and basically you can't stay where you booked, but don't worry, we're going to upgrade you to a treehouse. So I'm not quite sure exactly what a treehouse is, but she's going to send me the link, and tomorrow night that may well indeed be where I'm staying. But don't worry, it's an upgrade. So yeah, all very exciting. I don't really mind. It's quite fun, really. I imagine some people might be less enthusiastic about the idea of living or staying in an activity centre with a rope bridge, but yeah, all with good fun, as long as it's got good Wi-Fi and Tess can stay by my side.